My friend, there are moments in life when the waiting seems endless, when the silence from heaven feels deafening, and when the doors that you've been knocking on for years refuse to open. You've prayed, you've fasted, you've wept behind closed doors when no one could see your tears. And maybe tonight you feel like God has forgotten you. But I'm here to tell you something powerful. God's timing is not just coming. It's about to make you cry, not from sorrow, but from the overwhelming realization that he never abandoned you for a single second. The very thing that broke your heart will soon become the reason your heart overflows with joy. Because when God moves, he doesn't move halfway. He moves in ways that make you fall to your knees and say, only God could have done this. There is a sacred mystery in God's timing. You see, God does not work according to human clocks or calendars. We live by seconds and hours. God lives by purpose. We plan by days and months. God plans by eternity. He knows when you're ready, even when you think you are. He knows when the path is safe, even when you demand to walk it right now. And sometimes he holds you back, not to punish you, but to protect you. That delay you've been resenting may be the very wall standing between you and destruction. That unanswered prayer you've been crying about may be God's way of saving your future. You think you're waiting on God, but often God is waiting on you to grow, to mature, to release what you're holding, to trust what you cannot see. Think about it. Every tear you've cried, every disappointment you've endured, every door that's shut in your face has not been wasted. God was shaping your heart, strengthening your faith, and preparing you for something greater than what you had planned. There are blessings that come quickly, and then there are blessings that take time because they are too powerful to be given before their season. When God decides it's time, nothing can stop what he has written for you. Not people, not mistakes, not even time itself. You may have thought you missed your chance, but God is not bound by missed opportunities. He can resurrect what you thought was dead, and he can bring life into what everyone else said was over. There's a reason you've been hidden. There's a reason things have been quiet. God hides you before he reveals you. He silences the noise around you so that your heart can learn the rhythm of his voice. Many of you are in that hidden season right now, feeling unseen and overlooked. But let me tell you, God does his greatest work in the dark. A seed must be buried before it grows. It must be covered before it breaks through the soil. You may feel buried, but you are planted. And when the appointed time comes, you will not just grow, you will bloom. And when you bloom, it will not be a small thing. It will be something that leaves people speechless. Something that makes you weep with gratitude because you'll realize that every second of waiting was worth it. God's timing is precise. When the sun rises and sets, when the stars move in their courses, when the oceans know their boundaries, everything obeys his timing. And yet you and I struggle to trust him with ours. We say, God, why is it taking so long? But if we could see the full picture, we'd understand that God is arranging every detail, aligning every person, and setting every event in motion to fulfill what he promised. The things you've been praying for are not denied, they're in preparation. And when they arrive, they won't come late. They'll come right on time. God never rushes, but he's never late. Some of you have been waiting for a breakthrough for years. You've been holding on to faith while everyone around you told you to give up. You've walked through loneliness, through betrayal, through exhaustion that no one else sees. But what you don't realize is that your perseverance has reached heaven. God has seen your endurance. He has seen the nights you stayed faithful when it would have been easier to quit. And when God moves in your situation, it will be so sudden and so glorious that you'll fall on your face in awe. That's why I said God's timing is about to make you cry, because you will realize that the waiting was never punishment. It was preparation for something that only God could orchestrate. Don't let the silence make you doubt. Don't let the delay make you settle. You may be tempted to force things to happen your way. The truth is, anything you rush will collapse under its own weight. Let God build it for you. Let him set it in place. His plan has stability. His plan has peace. When God opens a door, no one can shut it. And when he says now, everything will shift. People who ignored you will start recognizing you. Opportunities that once rejected you will come searching for you. Blessings you thought were lost will reappear in greater form because God's yes powerful. It changes everything. Maybe right now you're looking at your life and thinking, but I've lost too much time. I've wasted too many years. No, you haven't. God can redeem time. What takes others 10 years, He can do for you in one. What was broken for decades, He can restore in a moment. You serve a God who specializes in divine acceleration. He doesn't just restore, He multiplies. That's what His timing does. It not only gives you what you lost, it gives you more than you imagine. But He does it when your heart is ready to carry. You see, God is not interested in giving you blessings that will destroy you. He wants to give you blessings that will sustain you. So if He's still preparing you, be grateful. It means He's building you for something big. Every delay has a divine. Some delays are to protect you from premature exposure. Some are to strengthen your character. Some are to humble you before He exalts you. And some are simply because God wants to reveal Himself in a way that leaves no room for human explanation. There are blessings that are so sacred, He will not let them come through the hands of people. They must come directly from Him so that when they arrive, you will know beyond any doubt that it was God's hand alone. And when that happens, your tears will fall, your knees will bend, and your heart will whisper, God, you did it. So many people give up right before the timing of God begins to unfold. They let discouragement win. They let impatience rob them of their miracle. But I'm telling you, don't quit now. Don't walk away when you're this close. You may not see movement on the surface, but under the ground, roots are spreading, foundations are strengthening, and God is arranging every step. The longer the wait, the greater the impact. When God finally reveals what He's been working on, it will make sense why He took His time. Look back over your life. The moments you thought were delays were actually divine detours that saved you. The heartbreaks that nearly destroyed you were actually redirections that preserved your destiny. You didn't see it then, but God's hand was on every detail. And now, as He begins to unfold what He's been preparing, you'll understand why He didn't let certain people stay, why certain plans fell apart, and why certain seasons had to end. It wasn't rejection. It was redirection towards something higher. You thought you were losing, but you were being repositioned for a blessing that fits your calling, not your comfort. When God's timing arrives, it often comes wrapped in the ordinary. It won't always be announced with trumpets or lightning. Sometimes it will be a quiet phone call, an unexpected opportunity, a sudden peace in your spirit that says, now is the time. And in that moment, everything changes. The waiting ends, the pieces align, and your soul knows that the hand of God has moved. The kind of tears that only fall when your heart recognizes divine fulfillment. You won't be crying because of the pain anymore. You'll be crying because of the beauty of what God has done. You may not believe it now, but the same God who allowed your pain is the same God who will use it to bless you. Nothing in your life is wasted. Every scar, every disappointment, every loss will one day become proof of how powerfully God redeems. You'll look back and say, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here. You'll see how He turned what was meant to harm you into the very thing that lifted you higher. That's the miracle of His timing. Transforms your pain into power, your waiting into wonder, your tears into testimony. So hold on. Don't despise the process. The very thing you're praying for may already be in motion. God might be aligning the right people, shifting the right circumstances, and preparing the perfect moment. You can't see it, but heaven is working. And when it happens, it will be so sudden that it will take your breath away. You'll realize that while you were doubting, God was designing. While you were waiting, God was working. While you were crying, God was creating something far beyond what you could imagine. And when you finally see it, your soul will overflow with gratitude so deep it can only be expressed in tears. There's coming a moment when you will understand why God made you wait. It won't just make sense. It will move you to worship. You'll realize that every closed door was necessary. Every delay was divine, and every tear was preparing you for joy unspeakable. That's why you can't compare your timing to anyone else's. What God is doing in your life is unique. Others may get their blessings sooner, but yours is being handcrafted by God Himself. When it arrives, it will fit perfectly. You won't have to chase it. You won't have to fight for it. You'll simply walk into it, and it will feel like it was always meant to be. Some of you need to hear this. Stop thinking you've been forgotten. You haven't been left behind. You've been set apart. God's delay is not his denial. He's still writing your story. And when the next chapter begins, it will be so beautiful that the pain of the previous ones will fade. You'll see how the waiting built your strength, how the silence deepened your faith, and how the loneliness refined your heart. When the promise comes, you won't be proud. You'll be humbled because you'll know that without God, none of it would have been possible. So if you're standing in the middle of uncertainty, if you're asking, when, God, how much longer? I want to remind you, timing is everything. God's plan is never early, never late. It's always perfect. The moment he says, now everything will fall into place. Every unanswered prayer, every sleepless night, every silent tear will suddenly make sense. You'll cry not because of pain, but because of awe, because you'll see how faithful God has been all along. Stay faithful. Keep your heart pure. Keep your spirit humble. Don't let bitterness steal your breakthrough. Don't let impatience make you compromise. God's promise still stands. And when it unfolds, it will be bigger, deeper, and richer than anything you prayed for. You may have thought you were forgotten, but God has been watching, planning, and preparing the right moment to bless you beyond measure. And when that moment comes, your tears will tell the story your words never could. That God's timing truly makes everything beautiful. There comes a moment in every believer's journey when faith must outlast feeling. You may not feel strong. You may not see progress. And you may not hear answers, but faith was never meant to rely on sight. It was built for silence. It was born for the in-between. When nothing makes sense and everything inside you wants to give up, that's where the real battle is fought. Not in the noise, but in the quiet trust that whispers, God, I still believe you know what you're doing. That is the kind of faith that touches heaven. That is the kind of faith that moves mountains. Because when you refuse to let time weaken your trust, you step into alignment with the rhythm of God's will. And once you align with God's will, his timing begins to unfold with unstoppable power. There are seasons when God strips everything away, not to break you, but to rebuild you with divine precision. He removes distractions so you can recognize his voice again. He allows emptiness so your heart can hunger for him more deeply. He lets doors close, not to limit your path, but to reroute you towards something sacred. Sometimes the greatest blessing is the door that never opened. You'll see later that if God had said yes when you asked, you would have been trapped in something too small for your destiny. But because he said no, he preserved your future. That's why you must never mistake delay for denial. God's silence is often the sound of construction. Behind that silence, heaven is working on a masterpiece. You may not realize it, but God's timing often works through divine reversal. He can turn things around in ways that defy logic. The one who was overlooked becomes the one who's chosen. The situation that seemed impossible suddenly shifts in your favor. The years of drought are followed by abundance that leaves you speechless. And when it happens, you'll cry, not because you're weak, but because you'll finally understand that everything you lost had purpose. The tears you cried in private will become the testimony you share in public. You'll stand in the same place where you once wept and say, God, you knew exactly what you were doing. God's timing doesn't just bless you. It reveals who he is. It teaches you that he is not random, not impulsive, not uncertain. He is deliberate. He is precise. Every moment of your life has been carefully written by his hand. You are not living by coincidence. You are living by divine appointment. That's why you cannot afford to envy anyone else's timeline. What God is doing in your life is tailor-made for you. You are not behind schedule. You are right where you need to be for God's next move. Stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. Their story is theirs, and yours is being written by the same God who never makes mistakes. Some of you are standing in the middle of a waiting room that feels endless. The promise looks far away, and the pressure feels unbearable. But waiting is not wasted time. It's sacred time. It's the place where your roots go deep. It's where your strength is forged. If you rush the process, you'll miss the power that comes from being prepared. God doesn't just want to give you the blessing. He wants to make sure the blessing doesn't break you. He's not just preparing your future. He's preparing you for your future. You think you're standing still, but God is refining you in ways you can't see. And one day when the timing is right, he will release everything you were praying for. and you'll realize why he took his time. When the breakthrough comes, it will carry the weight of every prayer you ever prayed. It will carry the fragrance of every tear you shed. It will be drenched in the oil of endurance, and it will be something you could never have built on your own. You'll know it was God because the blessing will bring peace, not pressure. It will bring fulfillment, not confusion. When God does it, you won't have to manipulate or strive. The door will open effortlessly, and what belongs to you will stay because it was established by divine authority. That's the power of God's timing. It delivers what human effort never could. You see, timing is the language of trust. When you trust God's timing, you're saying, I believe you know more than I do. That kind of surrender invites divine intervention because God doesn't move where there is pride. He moves where there is faith. Faith says, even if it takes longer than I planned, I still believe you're working. Faith says, even if everyone else moves ahead of me, I'll stay where you planted me until you say move. And when you hold on to that kind of faith, God begins to move mountains on your behalf. He begins to shift things that were immovable to align people, opportunities, and circumstances in your favor. Some of the greatest blessings in your life are waiting on one thing: divine timing. You may think you're ready, but God knows what still needs to be developed. He knows what still needs to be healed. He knows what still needs to be released. So he waits, not because he's punishing you, but because he loves you too much to give you something before you're able to handle it. You wouldn't hand a sharp sword to a child. You'd wait until they learn discipline. In the same way, God waits until your character can carry your calling. And when that moment comes, the release will be undeniable. There's a sacred stillness that comes before divine manifestation. The calm before the storm. When everything seems quiet and nothing seems to move, don't mistake that quiet for absence. That's the moment when heaven is closest. God often works in silence because silence refinances your hearing. When you can't trace him, you learn to trust him. And when you trust him, you position yourself for miracles that cannot be explained. God doesn't need noise to move. He doesn't need approval, applause, or validation. He moves in the unseen, and when he reveals what he's been doing, it will speak for itself. There are blessings that require endurance because they carry eternal weight. Quick blessings fade, but those built through waiting endure. You might not see it yet, but God is giving you a testimony that will outlive your pain. You'll be able to stand before others who are struggling and say, I've been where you are. I know what it's like to wait, and I know what it's like to see God come through. That's the kind of wisdom only time can give. That's why you must never curse the waiting. It's the training ground of divine strength. Many people cry out for God's promises, but resist his process. They want the glory without the preparation. But the process is where the glory is formed. You can't rush refinement. You can't bypass surrender. You can't shortcut faith. The fires you face are not meant to destroy you. They're purifying you. They're burning away fear, pride, and doubt, so that when the timing arrives, you can carry the blessing with humility. God's delays are not meant to break your spirit. They are meant to break your dependence on everything except him. When you've reached the place where you say, even if nothing changes, I will still trust God, that's when things begin to shift. Every time you thought you were forgotten, heaven was watching. Every time you were tempted to quit, God was whispering, hold on, I'm not finished yet. Every silent season has a divine purpose. Some blessings come after years of being misunderstood. Some come after seasons of complete isolation. And when they finally arrive, they carry the fragrance of divine validation. The people who once doubted you will have no choice but to acknowledge that it was God's hand on your life. That's what makes his timing so powerful. It silences every voice that ever spoke against you. Don't fight the waiting, embrace it. Don't curse the delay, learn from it. The very thing you call delay might be the thing God is using to deliver you. When you surrender your timeline, you invite peace. And when you walk in peace, you give God permission to move without interference. You don't have to understand how it's going to happen. You just have to believe that it will, because God's word never fails. His promises never expire. If he said it, it will come to pass, but it will come to pass when the time is right. Right now, some of you are standing on the edge of that time. You've endured storms. You've fought battles in silence. You've kept your faith when no one believed in you. You prayed when you didn't feel like praying. and heaven has recorded every moment of it. The scale of your struggle is proof of the size of your coming blessing. God never allows deep pain without deeper purpose. The very thing that brought you to tears will soon be the thing that makes you lift your hands in gratitude. When it happens, it won't just change your life. It will change your heart. It will restore your trust, renew your faith, and remind you that God has always been faithful. You'll see that he was never withholding. He was timing. He wasn't delaying. He was perfecting. Every detail, every delay, every detour was carefully orchestrated. And when you finally step into what he's prepared, it will make you cry. Not because you doubted, but because you'll see how much he loved you through it all. God's timing will bring clarity where confusion once lived. It will bring beauty where ashes once lived. It will bring strength where weakness once ruled. And it will bring peace where worry once consumed you. This is the divine pattern of life. We weave, we wait, and then we witness. The same tears that fell in pain will one day fall in praise. The same heart that ached with uncertainty will overflow with understanding. That is the power of God's timing. It turns every shadow into light, every delay into destiny, and every heartbreak into testimony. So don't lose heart. What's ahead is greater than what's behind. What's coming is worth every second of waiting. You will not be disappointed when God reveals what he's been working on. You will not regret the time it took. Because when it happens, you'll realize that he was never late. He was preparing the perfect moment for you to receive a blessing that would transform your life forever. And when that moment arrives, you will weep not from sorrow, but from awe. You will cry because you'll see how perfectly everything aligned. You'll cry because you'll understand that every unanswered prayer was guiding you to this point. You'll cry because you'll feel the presence of God so deeply that words will fail you. And in those tears, you will find peace, because those tears will not be of pain. They will be of divine fulfillment. That's what happens when God's timing finally unfolds. It makes you cry, not because of what you lost, but because of what you've gained. Faith strengthened the undeniable proof that God's plan was always perfect. There are moments when life pushes you to the edge. When your strength fades and your prayers feel unanswered, you've done everything you know to do. Yet the silence remains. But silence does not mean abandonment. It is in the quiet that God does his deepest work. The roots of faith grow strongest in stillness. When you cannot feel him, he is closest. When nothing seems to move, he is rearranging everything behind the scenes. God's timing is never careless. He does not delay out of neglect. He delays out of design. And when his plan unfolds, it reveals not only his power, but his perfect love for you. Sometimes God's greatest blessings begin as heartbreak. He will allow something to end because he is preparing something eternal. He will let you walk through fire so you can emerge purified, strong, and ready for the blessing he has prepared. The pain you are feeling is not punishment. It's preparation. You cannot receive the fullness of what God has for you while still clinging to what he's trying to free you from. That's why his timing feels hard. It separates what is temporary from what is divine. It removes what is shallow so he can build what is deep. You cannot skip that process and still expect a miracle to last. When you pray and God says what, it means he is crafting something you could never build yourself. He is protecting you from counterfeit blessings, from people who look right but are not right, from opportunities that sparkle but are traps in disguise. Waiting is God's shield around you. It may feel like delay, but it's defense. It's his way of saying, I love you too much to let you settle for less than what I designed for you. And when the time is right, what he brings will not come with confusion or chaos. It will come with peace. That is how you'll know it's from him. God's timing doesn't only change your circumstances, it changes your perspective. What once made you anxious will no longer move you because you've learned that God governs every moment. You begin to live with calm confidence, not because life is easy, but because your trust is anchored in something unshakable. You stop forcing doors to open. You stop begging people to stay. You stop worrying about what's next. Instead, you start saying, God, whenever you move, I'll be ready. And that kind of surrender opens heaven's floodgates. When you stop trying to control the outcome, you give God permission to release the miraculous. Every trial, every delay, every unanswered prayer becomes a tool in God's hand. He uses each one to shape your soul, to polish your heart, to align you with your purpose. Nothing is wasted in his economy. The very things you thought would break you are building the foundation of your future. And when his timing arrives, you will see that every scar became a doorway to strength. Every disappointment a bridge to destiny. That's why God tells you not to faint in the waiting, because the longer the wait, the greater the testimony. Some of you are in a place right now where everything feels still. Your life feels like a page that hasn't turned in years. But God is the author, not you. And he doesn't turn the page until the story he's writing on the current one is complete. Trust the author. He never wastes ink. The very delay that frustrates you is part of the divine plot that will one day move you to tears. You will read the next chapter and realize that if it had come earlier, you would not have been ready to receive it. Timing is not just about what God is preparing for you. It's about what he's preparing in you. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is stillness. To stop striving to rest, to say, God, I don't need to understand. I just need to trust. That's not weakness, that's power. It's surrender that carries strength, because when you let go, you make room for God to take over. And when he takes over, everything changes. He begins to move people, shift seasons, and open doors that no human hand could open. Suddenly, what seemed impossible becomes effortless, not because of you, but because God's timing has arrived. Have you ever noticed how storms come suddenly but leave behind clear skies? That's how divine timing works. When the breakthrough comes, it will sweep through your life with force and clarity. The clouds will part. Confusion will lift. What once seemed distant will come rushing toward you. The blessings that felt delayed will arrive in clusters, and you will barely be able to contain the gratitude in your heart. You will cry not from weariness, but from awe, because you'll realize that God didn't just answer your prayer, he exceeded it. He didn't just fulfill a request, he fulfilled a promise. But let me tell you something that few understand. Before God's timing manifests, he often tests your patience. He allows delays that challenge your trust. He permits silence that stretches your endurance. Because real faith isn't proven when everything makes sense. It's proven when nothing does. And those who endure, those who refuse to give up, those who choose to believe even when there's no visible sign, those are the ones who see the most breathtaking displays of his power. Waiting is not passive, it's active trust. It's saying every day, God, I know you are still working even if I can't see how. The human heart struggles with time because we measure by days, but God measures by destiny. What you call late, God calls preparation. What you call delay, he calls alignment. If he brought it to you too early, it might overwhelm you. If he gave it too soon, you might lose. But when everything is aligned and your spirit is ready, he will release what is yours. And it will fit like it was always meant to be there. You won't have to force it. You won't have to question it. You'll just know this is what I was waiting for. When God's timing comes, it doesn't sneak in quietly. It announces itself with peace. You will feel the shift. You will sense that the long night is over, and the tears that once fell in pain will begin to fall in worship. Because you'll see how every unanswered prayer was guiding you, how every delay was protecting you, how every silence was preparing you. You'll realize that God was never slow. He was exact. Some blessings can only come after surrender. Some doors only open after letting go. You cannot cling to what's fading and still receive what's coming. That's why God sometimes allows what you thought you needed to fall apart so your hands will be free to hold what he's about to place in them. It hurts when things end, but endings are proof that new beginnings are near. Every closed door carries a whisper of divine timing. And when it happens, when that long-awaited prayer finally unfolds before your eyes, you won't be able to contain the emotion. You'll cry because it will all make sense. The pain, the waiting, the confusion, it will all connect into something breathtaking. You'll see how God took what looked like detours and turned them into the direct path toward your purpose. You'll stand there, tears streaming, whispering, God, you knew what you were doing all along. So hold on. Don't lose hope when things move slowly. Don't let fear convince you that God has forgotten you. The same God who set the stars in place knows the perfect moment to bring your blessing to life. Trust his calendar, not your clock. You are not behind. You are being refined. You are not delayed. You are being developed. Every second of your waiting is sacred. And when his timing comes, it will be so beautiful, so complete, so filled with peace that the only thing left for you to do will be to cry. And in those tears, you will find your victory. There are moments in life when you will look at the sky and wonder if God has forgotten you. You will pray, you will cry, you will wait, and nothing will seem to change. You will look around and see others rising while you remain in the same place. You will question your worth, your destiny, your effort, and even your purpose. But what you cannot see in those silent, painful hours is that God's timing is weaving a masterpiece behind the curtain of delay. What looks like stillness is divine preparation. What feels like rejection is redirection. What feels like the end is often the beginning of something you could not yet handle. God's silence is not absence. It is strategy. He is aligning people, places, and purposes in such perfect order that when it finally happens, it will overwhelm you. It will break you down in tears, not from sorrow, but from the uncontainable realization that every second of waiting was sacred. God's timing is about to make you cry because it will make sense of every sleepless night and every unanswered prayer. You see, when God holds back a blessing, it is not because you are unworthy. It is because he is wise. He does not give before you are ready. He does not release what could crush you. Sometimes what you call a delay is divine mercy. God knows that blessings given too soon become burdens. He knows that what is meant to elevate you could destroy you if it arrives in the wrong season. So he waits until your faith matures, your heart steadies, and your character deepens. He is not only preparing the blessing, he is preparing. And when he finally opens that door, it will not creak open gently. It will swing wide with power and precision. You will realize that God did not just change your situation. He changed you first. The truth is, divine timing often feels painful because it confronts our impatience. We live in a world that celebrates speed, but God works in seasons. The seed must be buried before it blossoms. The cocoon must close before the butterfly flies. The night must fall before the dawn appears. In every delay, there is a divine rhythm, an invisible hand orchestrating details far beyond your sight. You may think you are forgotten, but in reality, you are being featured in God's hidden schedule. His calendar does not follow yours, and his promises never expire. When he says, not yet, it is not a denial. It is divine design. And when that appointed moment comes, it will not just be a blessing. It will be an awakening. God's timing will move so suddenly, so powerfully, that it will silence every doubt you ever had. The tears you once cried from pain will return as tears of praise. The same ground that felt barren will bloom with abundance. You will look back and realize that every no, every delay, every detour was protection. God was guarding you from lesser things so he could give you greater ones. What you thought was falling apart was in truth falling into place. So do not curse your waiting season. Sanctify it. Use this time to grow closer to God, to strengthen your faith, to surrender your control. Because when you trust God's timing, you begin to see that waiting is not wasted. It is worship. It is a quiet declaration that you believe God knows what is best. Every prayer you whisper in faith becomes a seed planted in his hands. And when the season of harvest comes, you will reap in joy. You will cry not because of pain, but because of the weight of his mercy. Think about the moments in your life when you thought you were forgotten, but then suddenly a door opened that you didn't even knock on. That was God's timing. Think of the people who left only for better ones to arrive. That was God's timing. Think of the times when you were delayed and later realized that what you were being protected from could have destroyed you. That was God's timing. His plan is perfect because it sees the end from the beginning. He is not rushing and he is not late. He moves when everything is aligned, when your heart, your purpose, and your path meet at the point of divine readiness. But here is the truth. Few are willing to face. Sometimes God's timing requires isolation. You will lose people. You will lose comfort. You will be misunderstood. You will feel unseen. Yet that is where the sacred work happens. When you are stripped of all distractions, you begin to hear God more clearly. When you walk alone, you learn who truly walks with you. God often hides you before he honors you. He conceals you to strengthen you. You are not being ignored. You are being refined. And refinement always comes before revelation. When you understand this, your tears become holy. You begin to see that even your heartbreaks had purpose. The nights when you cried yourself to sleep were not wasted, they were heard. Every sigh, every whisper, every silent plea reached the throne of the Almighty. You were not forgotten, you were being fortified. And soon, when God's timing bursts through like light after a long night, you will understand why He made you wait. You will cry because His goodness will overwhelm you. You will fall to your knees, not in despair, but in awe. You will realize that the wait was the womb of the miracle. There is power in patience. The ones who wait on God do not grow weaker, they grow wiser. Waiting purifies motives. It separates shallow faith from steadfast trust. When you learn to say, God, I will wait for you, you are declaring your allegiance to His wisdom over your own will. And that surrender becomes the soil where miracles grow. The greatest blessings are never rushed. They are revealed. God does not bless impatience. He honors trust. And when you truly trust His timing, you stop begging for shortcuts. You start embracing the slow and sacred pace of divine order. So hold your ground. Keep believing even when nothing seems to move. God's timing is not behind schedule. It is perfectly on track. Every setback is setting the stage for a comeback so glorious it will bring tears to your eyes. When God finally acts, the magnitude of His favor will make every day of struggle worth. You will see doors open that no one can close. You will receive calls that change your story overnight. You will witness connections that make no sense except by divine design. And when it happens, your heart will tremble, your eyes will flood, and your soul will know this could only be God. The same God who placed the stars in the sky knows the exact second to release your breakthrough. He knows how to turn waiting into winning, mourning into dancing, and silence into a song of joy. Do not rush what God is still writing. The most beautiful stories take time. You're not behind. You are being built. You are not forgotten. You are being focused. When the moment finally comes, you will cry because you will realize that His plan was never late. It was right on time. And the blessing that comes through tears will be the kind that no man can take away because it will be rooted not in luck or chance, but in the perfect, unshakable, divine timing of God. There will come a day when the waiting will end and you will see what God was doing all along. Every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every tear that fell in silence will reveal its purpose. You will look back and realize that nothing was wasted. Not one moment, not one disappointment, not one lonely night. It was all shaping you into someone who could carry the blessing without breaking under it. The pain was not punishment, it was preparation. The silence was not neglect, it was strategy. God was not ignoring you. He was perfecting His timing for your life. And when that moment finally comes, when His divine order unfolds before your eyes, you will be overwhelmed by His wisdom and His mercy. You will cry because you will understand that His plan was never delayed. It was designed. So now is the time to trust Him completely. Let go of your timelines, your expectations, and your need to control. God does not need your schedule. He needs your surrender. The most powerful act of faith you can take today is to say, God, I trust you even when I don't understand you. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of trust opens heavens. You don't need to see the path when you know the one who created it. You just need to walk with patience, with prayer, and with unwavering belief that God is working in your favor. Even when it looks like nothing is happening, you may not feel it yet, but something divine is forming in the unseen. You are closer to your breakthrough than you realize. The storm you're in is not a sign of abandonment. It's the final push before the promise. Hold on to your faith when it feels weakest, because that is when it is being tested the most. Do not let your impatience rob you of the miracle that's almost here. God's timing is never random. It is precise. He knows when to reveal what He has prepared for you. He knows the moment your faith is strong enough to receive it. And when that moment arrives, you will stand in awe. You will look at your life and realize that everything that once broke, you actually built you. You will see that God's delays were never denials. They were moments of divine alignment. You will cry because His faithfulness will leave you speechless. Every fear will fade in the light of His perfection. Every doubt will melt under the weight of His love. And in that moment, you will know that trusting God was the best decision you ever made. So walk with courage. Pray with expectancy. Wait with peace. Stop questioning the process and start honoring it. God has not forgotten you. He has reserved something greater than you imagined. The waiting is proof that he is crafting something extraordinary. Do not give up now. You are standing at the edge of his perfect timing. Keep your heart humble, your faith unshaken, and your eyes fixed on him. Because when God moves, he moves suddenly. When he blesses abundantly. And when his timing finally arrives, it will not just change your circumstances, it will transform your soul. You will cry not from sorrow, but from the overwhelming realization that every second of waiting was worth it. Let this be your declaration today. I will trust God even when I cannot see the way. I will remain faithful even when I do not understand the plan. I will stand still and let God be God because his timing is perfect. His will is flawless and his purpose cannot fail. The same God who created the stars and commands the seasons has not lost control of your story. He is the author and he will finish what he began. So lift your head, wipe your tears, strengthen your heart. The time you thought was lost is about to be redeemed. The blessings you thought were gone are about to return in greater measure. The prayers you thought were forgotten are about to be answered in ways you never expected. Stand firm in faith. Stay anchored in trust. Keep walking with God because when his timing comes, and it will make you cry not from pain, but from the breathtaking beauty of his perfection. And in that moment, your soul will whisper the truth. It always knew God was right all along.